Well, welcome to Bible class. Today, we're headed to the town of Jericho. We've been there before to learn about Rahab in the Old Testament. Today, we're going there for a story from the New Testament. We're going to learn about Zacchaeus and the time that he decided to show integrity. So, first, I've got a puzzle for you. Let's see if you can solve this puzzle. What does this look like to you? Sound it out in your head. The first one is a sack. Finn, you can unmute yourself.
Oh, Zacchaeus.
Yes.
Yeah,
Sack.
Us.
Zacchaeus. You got it. It's not exactly right, but it sounds close. Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus. Yes, that's right. So we got to find out how to get to Jericho. So let's do our continent song to figure out where we are in the world, and then we'll go to Jericho. Okay, are you guys ready? Tell me the continents, tell me the continents, tell me if you can. North America, South America, Europe, Asia, Africa. Don't forget Australia. Don't forget Antarctica. Tell me the continents, tell me the continents, tell me if you can. All right, so we are on the continent of what?
North America.
Yes, very good. So we'll start here on our Google Earth. So let's go from North America, and we're going to fly east. Here we go. We'll fly east across the Atlantic Ocean, over the continent of Africa, and into the modern country of Israel. We're going to go north of the Dead Sea to a place called Jericho. And you can see Jerusalem is there on the west, on the left. There's the Dead Sea, and the Jordan River's coming into the Dead Sea. So that's where our story takes place today, and we're going to see how Zacchaeus uses integrity. So integrity is being truthful in what you say and in what you do. So let's start the story. So Finn, would you please read the verse that's on the screen?
Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through. A man named Zacchaeus lived there. He was a chief tax collector and was very rich.
Thank you, Finn. So we learn a couple things from this one verse. We learn that Jesus came to Jericho. We learn that that's where Zacchaeus lived, and that he was the chief tax collector. We'll talk about what that means in a minute, because it meant he was very rich, very wealthy. He had a lot of money. Here is where Jesus would have traveled. He left the region of Galilee. Maybe he started up in Nazareth in his hometown, and he would have come south and east down by the Jordan River, and he would have come south to Jericho before going to Jerusalem. They had to avoid the area called Samaria that was right in there. You see the word Nablus? You see that name, Nablus? They would have avoided that area. They walked all the way around it because they didn't get along with the people who lived there. And so Jesus would have walked probably down along the Jordan River. You see that kind of right there in the middle. And it would have taken a long time to get there. It says 33 hours, so it's a several day journey. But he went to Jericho on his way to Jerusalem. So when he got there, he met Zacchaeus. But before we see what happens when they meet, let's learn about what it means to be a tax collector. Now, today, we still have tax collectors. You can ask your parents about them. They're not the most popular people because, like when you go to the store and you buy a candy bar or a Lego set, you have to pay tax along with it, right? So that's kind of what's happening here in Jesus's time. In the ancient world, when you bought food, or you bought clothes, or you bought spices, you had to pay tax, just like we do today. But the problem came when some of the tax collectors decided to take a little bit more than what they should have, and it made them even more rich. And we learn from the story that Zacchaeus took more than his share. So he actually stole from the people he collected taxes from. And the coins that you see there, here's a picture of what the ancient coins would have really looked like. So you can see there's a lot of silver coins called a denarius. There's a silver half shekel. They use that to pay the temple tax, to help keep the temple running. There's bronze coins too. Remember Judas's silver? That was one of these coins too. So Zacchaeus would have had a lot of coins. He would have collected a lot of money, and he took too much money. And so people didn't like him very much. They thought that he was a thief and that he did not show integrity before Jesus came. So what happens next? Sky, could you read this verse for us?
Yeah. Zacchaeus wanted to see who Jesus was, but he was a short man. He could not see Jesus because of the crowd. So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore fig tree. Luke 19:3-4.
Thank you, Sky. So Zacchaeus knew Jesus was coming. There was a huge crowd there, and so many people he couldn't see over. We have that problem sometimes. And so Zacchaeus had the bright idea to climb a tree so he could get a better view. And that sycamore fig tree is still there today. Or I mean, trees like it are still there today. In fact, I have a picture of one. People go to Jericho today to see this tree. They call it the Zacchaeus tree. Can you guys see it? Oh, maybe it's coming.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, so people go there today as tourists to go see this tree. And there are a couple trees that people say was the tree that Zacchaeus was on, but this wasn't the tree, but it's what it would have looked like. Now look at those cool branches. That is a good climbing tree. Have you guys climbed trees before?
I would want to climb it.
Yeah, we used to have a small tree.
I want to climb it too.
I hang on our tree. Like
Yeah,
hang,
that's right.
hang on it.
Zacchaeus climbs this tree to get a better view. And then what happens? So I'm putting up another verse. Finn, would you read this one, please?
Jesus reached the spot where Zacchaeus was. He looked up and said, Zacchaeus, come down at once. I must stay at your house today.
Whoa. So Jesus came right up to Zacchaeus, which was amazing because back then, the Jewish people did not like tax collectors because they collected money for Rome. Rome were the rulers at the time, and the Jewish people thought that tax collectors worked for the enemy. And they thought that because they worked for the enemy, they were unclean and that they could not be redeemed, or they wouldn't really get to participate in Jewish life. And so Jesus comes and shows them that no, that's not true. Tax collectors can be loved too. God made them too. And so the verse I have, I'll read it to you. The next verse is, look, Lord. This is what Zacchaeus says after Jesus talks to him. He says, look, Lord, here and now, right now, I give half of what I own to those who are poor. And if I have cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay it back. I will pay back 4 times the amount I took. Zacchaeus is asking for forgiveness. He's saying he's sorry for cheating people and taking too much money. And he not only does he say that he's sorry, he says that he will pay back that money. He'll pay back the extra money that he stole, and he'll pay it back 4 times the amount he stole. That actually goes back to, I think, Exodus 22, where it talks about the punishment for stealing. And so Zacchaeus realizes that what he's been doing has been stealing. And so he tells Jesus that he's sorry and he's going to pay it back. And he's going to give half of his possessions to the poor. That's a lot. So what does Jesus do when Zacchaeus says that? Jesus said to Zacchaeus, today salvation has come to your house. So Jesus said, you are forgiven. That's what that means. So Zacchaeus, the crooked tax collector who takes too much money, he steals people's money, he apologized. He said he was sorry, and he offered to give all the money back, 4 times as much money back. And Jesus said, because you have said that you're sorry and you'll pay the money back, and because you did, you're forgiven. Salvation has come to your house. And so for a tax collector like Zacchaeus, who people didn't really like, this was a big deal. Jesus used this as an opportunity to teach that everybody is accepted by Jesus if they believe. And so this brings us to our last verse. Finn, can you read this for me? Do you see the verse?
But God is faithful and fair. If we confess our sins, he will forgive our sins. If he will forgive every wrong thing we have done. He will make us pure.
God is faithful and fair. If we confess our sins, he will forgive us. I love that it says he will forgive every wrong thing we have done, ever. And so Zacchaeus is a great example of that, because people thought that Zacchaeus could never be forgiven because he was a tax collector for the Romans. And you know what Jesus said? That's not true. He can be forgiven. And he did forgive Zacchaeus. And he can forgive us too. So no matter what we do, God will always love us and forgive us. So Zacchaeus is a good story to show integrity, because before Jesus came, he did not show integrity. He stole money, right? And then Jesus came and forgave him, and Zacchaeus paid it back. All right, so next week, we're going to learn about a character we don't talk much about. His name is Gehazi, and he actually worked with the prophet Elisha. And it turns out Gehazi made some very bad choices. And we're going to learn about that because it has to do with integrity. So Gehazi is an interesting character we'll learn about next week. You know what? We forgot to sing the Zacchaeus song. Should we do that before we go? Finn says,
Yes.
Okay, are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Zacchaeus was a wee little man, and a wee little man was he. He climbed up in the sycamore tree, for the Lord he wanted to see. And when the Lord came walking by, he looked up in the tree. He said, Zacchaeus, you come down, for I'm going to your house today. For I'm going to your house today. Oh. Now, was Zacchaeus really short?
Yes. Well, no.
Well, he was probably average height, which would have been like 5'1" to 5'7". It's just there was such a big crowd, he couldn't see over. So I think he gets a bad reputation. Thank you, guys. See you later.
Thank you.